Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec back with another video for you guys. In today's video, we are going to continue on with the TryHackMe Offensive Security Learning Path. This is the AD modules, and this is the Enumerating Active Directory room. This room covers various Active Directory enumeration techniques, their use cases, as well as drawbacks. Now, let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 1. Why AD enumeration? This network is the continuation of the breaching AD network. Please make sure to complete this network before continuing with this one. Also note that we will discuss AD objects extensively. If you need a refresher, have a quick rescan of this room. Now that we have our very first set of valid Active Directory credentials, we will explore the different methods that can be used to enumerate AD. AD enumeration. Once we have that first set of AD credentials and the means to authenticate with them on the network, a whole new world of possibilities opens up. We can start enumerating various details about the AD setup and structure with authenticated access, even super low privileged access. During a red team engagement, this will usually lead to us being able to perform a form of privilege escalation or lateral movement to gain additional access until we have sufficient privileges to execute and reach our goals. In most cases, enumeration and exploitation are heavily entwined. Once an attack path shown by the enumeration phase has been exploited, enumeration is again performed from this new privileged position, as shown in the diagram below. So let's take a quick look at this diagram. You got initial recon, initial compromise, then you're going to move on to establishing a foothold, escalate your privileges. You may need to do some more internal recon, move laterally, maintain persistence, right? So you're probably going to be doing this step quite a bit until you need to get to your actual objectives and then complete the mission. Learning objectives. In this network, we will cover several methods that can be used to enumerate AD. This is by no means a complete list, as available methods are usually highly situational and dependent on the acquired breach. However, we will cover the following techniques for enumerating AD, and they are the AD snap-ins of the Microsoft Management Console, the net commands of Command Prompt, the AD RSAT commandlets of PowerShell, and good old reliable Bloodhound. Connecting to the network. Well, basically this says that you can use the attack box. If you want to use attack box, you can configure it this way. I'm going to use my own VM with Kali fired up here on the right side, as you can see there. So I'll go through these steps here if you haven't done it already to set up your machine properly. All right. And this is talking about if you're going to go the routes with the OpenVPN and your own instance of Kali or whatever OS you want to use for this particular room. All right, shows you how to use OpenVPN. I'm already connected to it. And so we're going to skip through some of this here. Already done this. All right, requesting your credentials to simulate an AD breach. You will be provided with your first set of AD credentials. Once your networking setup has been completed on your attack box, navigate to the following here. To request your credential pair, click the Get Credentials button to receive your credential pair that can be used for initial access. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and copy, paste this over, and I already have Firefox fired up here. So let's go ahead and plug this in like so. Get credentials. Your credentials have been generated. Elliot.allen and password change me 123. So let's go ahead and grab this so I don't forget. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and minimize this, and let's just go ahead and create a file in here. Let's just do nano and then creds.txt like that. Plug it in here. Okay, and now we're gonna save it. Yes. All right, so we're set now for the creds. This credential pair will provide you RDP and SSH access to THM, JMP1, yada yada yada. Since the jump box can be seen as a jump host into this environment, simulating a foothold you have achieved. Jump hosts are often targeted by red team since they provide access to new network segment, you can use Remina or any other similar remote desktop client to connect to this host for RDP. Remember to specify the domain as TryHackMe.com. Connecting task 2 and 3 will require RDP access. Okay, SSH access, you can use this, and then when prompted, you can provide your account's password. Although RDP can be used for all tasks, SSH is faster and can be used for task 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and copy, and then, of course, um, we're going to replace the placeholders. So let's go ahead and paste this in here and then fix the placeholders. Now I had to go back and generate some new credentials. For some reason, the first set was not working properly, but as you can see, I'm SSH into the box. So let's go ahead and continue. I have completed breaching AD network and I'm ready to learn about AD enumeration techniques. I've connected to the network, configured DNS. I've requested my credential pair from the distributor. Yep. And I'm gonna try to use SSH instead of RDP. See how far we can get. I don't know if we will need RDP or not. Task 2, credential injection. Before jumping into AD objects and enumeration, let's first talk about credential injection methods from the breaching AD network. You would have seen that credentials are often found without compromising a domain joined machine. Specific enumeration techniques may require a particular setup to work, Windows versus Linux. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer defeat. Sun Tzu, Art of War. I recommend checking out that book if you haven't read it already. You can get incredibly far doing AD enumeration from a Kali machine. Still, if you generally want to do in-depth enumeration and even exploitation, you need to understand and mimic your enemy. Thus, you need a Windows machine. This will allow us to use several built-in methods to stage our enumeration exploits. In this network, we will explore one of these built-in tools called runas.exe binary. Runas explained. Have you ever found 80 credentials but nowhere to log in with them? Run as may be the answer you've been looking for. In security assessments, you will often have network access and have just discovered 80 credentials but have no means or privileges to create a new domain joined machine. So we need the ability to use those credentials on a Windows machine we control. If we have the 80 credentials in the format of username, password, we can use run as a legitimate Windows binary to inject the credentials into memory. The usual run as command will look something like this. Let's look at the parameters. /net only. Since we are not domain joined, we want to load the credentials for network authentication, but not authenticate against a domain controller. So commands executed locally on the computer will run in the context of your standard Windows account, but any network connections will occur using the account specified here, /user. Here we provide the details of the domain and the username. It is always a safe bet to use the fully qualified domain name, also known as FQDN, instead of just NetBIOS name of the domain, since this will help with the resolution. cmd.exe, this is the program we want to execute once the credentials are injected. This can be changed to anything, but the safest bet is cmd.exe, since you can then use that to launch whatever you want with your credentials injected. Once you run this command, you will be prompted to supply a password. Note that since we added this /net only parameter, the credentials will not be verified directly by a domain controller so that it will accept any password. We still need to confirm that the network credentials are loaded successfully and correctly. Note, if you use your own Windows machine, you should make sure that you run your first command prompt as administrator. This will inject an administrator token into CMD. If you run tools that require local administrative privileges from your run as spawn CMD, the token will already be available. This does not give you administrative privileges on the network, but will ensure that any local commands you execute will execute with administrative privileges. It's always DNS. Note, these steps or next steps you only need to perform if you use your own Windows machine for this exercise. However, it is good knowledge to learn how to perform since it may be helpful on red team exercises. After providing the password, a new command prompt window will open. Now, we still need to verify that our credentials are working. The most surefire way to do this is to list the sysvol. Any AD account, no matter how low privilege, can read the contents of the sysvol directory. Sysvol is a folder that exists on all domain controllers. It is a shared folder storing the group policy object GPOs and information along with any other domain and related scripts. It is an essential component for AD since it delivers these GPOs to all computers on network. Domain control or domain joined computers can then read these GPOs and apply the applicable ones, making domain-wide configuration changes for a central location. Before we can list sysvol, we need to configure our DNS. Sometimes we are lucky, and internal DNS will be configured for you automatically through DHCP or the VPN connection, but not always like this TryHackMe network. It is good to understand how to do it manually. Your safest bet for a DNS server is usually a domain controller. Using the IP of the domain controller, we can execute the following commands in PowerShell window. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Be sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Once you subscribe, be sure to hit that notification bell. All right, so you know every time I post a new video. As you can see here, most people that view my videos, view my channel, are not subscribed. Now, if you do subscribe, it will help me get into the YouTube algorithm so that we can continue to grow our glorious community here. As always, thank you all for taking the time to watch. Have a nice day and enjoy the video. Okay, I don't think I need to do this because it said that if you're using your own Windows box apparently, but let's go ahead and continue to read on here. Of course, Ethernet will be whatever interface connected to TryHackMe network. We can verify that DNS is working, which I've already done this earlier. What should now resolved the DC IP. Since this is where the FQDN is being hosted, note that DNS is working. We can finally test our credentials. We can use the following command to force a network-based listing of sysvol directory. So let's go ahead and try that here. And copy and paste like so. Oops, the wrong one. All right, so this should be good to go. We won't go too much in depth on now into the contents of sysvol, but note that this it is also good to enumerate its contents since there may be some additional AD credentials lurking there. IP versus host names. Question: is there a difference between dir using host name and then dir using an IP address with sysvol? And why the big fuss about DNS? There's quite a difference, and it boils down to the authentication method being used. When we provide the host name, network authentication will attempt first to perform Kerberos authentication. Since Kerberos authentication uses host names embedded in the tickets, if we provide the IP instead, we can force the authentication type to be NTLM. While on the surface, this does not matter to us right now, it is good to understand these slight differences since they can allow you to remain more stealthy during a red team assessment. In some instances, organizations will be monitoring for overpass and pass the hash attacks. Forcing NTLM authentication is a good trick to have in the book to avoid detection in these cases. Using injected credentials. Now that we have injected our AD credentials into memory, this is where the fun begins. With the net-only option, all network communication will use these injected credentials for authentication. This includes all network communications of applications executed from the command prompt window. This is where it becomes potent. Have you ever had a case where an MS SQL database used Windows authentication and you were not domain joined? Start MS SQL Studio from that command prompt, even though it shows your local username. Click login and it will use the AD credentials in the background to authenticate. We can even use this to authenticate to web applications that use NTLM authentication. We will be using that in the next task for our AD enumeration technique. What native Windows binary allows us to inject credentials legitimately into memory? And that was the run as.exe. What parameter option of the run as binary will ensure that injected credentials are used for all network connections? That was, what did they say? Yeah, the net only. That's what I was looking for. Net only. There we go. What network folder on a domain controller is accessible by any authenticated AD account and stores GPO information? That's sysvol. When performing dir za.trackme.com sysvol, what type of authentication is performed by default? Right, so that's going to be the Kerberos authentication, right? Because we're trying to authenticate using the host name. And task number 3, enumeration through Microsoft Management Console. Let's see what they're talking about here. Looks like we have to RDP into this in order to take a look here. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. Now that that is taken care of, I am connected via RDP in Remina. I went ahead and just saved this as a profile or whatever it's called in case we get disconnected. All right, you should have completed the AD basics room by now, where different AD objects were initially introduced in this task. It will be assumed that you understand what these objects are. Connect to the jump box using RDP and provision creds from task 1 to perform this task. Microsoft Management Console in this task will explore our first enumeration method, which is the only method that makes use of a GUI until the very last task. We will be using the Microsoft Management Console, also known as MMC, with the Remote Server Administration Tools, known as RSAT AD snap-ins. If you use the provided Windows VM, which is the jump machine, it has already been installed for you. However, if you are using your own Windows machine, you can perform the following steps here. So follow these steps here if you need to install it yourself. You can you start MMC by using the Windows Start button, searching and typing MMC. I'm just going to do it this way. And okay, you can't do it that way. Wow. Let's go ahead and do it this way. Okay. So we have to do it with run. And then we can start up this way here. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do MMC. There we go. And let's see if I can make this bigger. Okay, I guess that's it. Okay. Uh, if we just run MLC normally, it will not work as our computer is not domain joined and our local account cannot be used to authenticate to the domain. Okay, you get the error message. This is where run as window for previous tasks comes into play. In that window, we can start MMC, which will ensure that all MMC network connections will use our injected AD credentials. Since in MMC, we can now attach the AD RSAT snap-in. So let's go ahead and do that run as we saw earlier. So let me go ahead and copy stuff out of here. All right, I need to do it this way here with CMD. Okay, and then run as. All right, now we're ready to rock and roll. As you can see here, I went ahead and did the run as, open up this new command prompt in the back. Now let's go ahead and launch MMC by typing in MMC. And let's go ahead and follow this procedures here, and let's take a look. It says click file, and it says add new snap-in, and it says add Active Directories, domains, and trust. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Domain and trust, and then okay, so it wants us to add all three of these first. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we should be set there. Right click on Active Directory, domains of trust, and select change forest. So let's go ahead and hit OK first. All right, so let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. All right, let's go ahead and right click this, change forest, and then ZA. All right, looks good. Username, password's incorrect. All right, I ran into some issues with this. Now, what I did was I basically went into this little search box here, typed in CMD, right click on command prompt, and then run as different user. Then type in those credentials here, and it should work. All right, go back into it, and then type MMC, and it should pull up the MMC, and then add everything listed out here, and it should be good to go. As you can see here, now I have stuff in here. So let's go ahead and continue on with this here. All right, so domains and trust, change the forest. I mean, it looks set, but we'll just go and follow along here if this doesn't crash on me. All right, now change forest, already set. Okay, this one as well, change forest, already set. Okay, good to go. And this last one here is good to go here. Yeah, change domain, and then you can see it in there. Okay, so we're going to right click on using computers. Let me go ahead and drag this over a little bit, make this bigger. There we go. Drag this over a little bit. Using computers, right click, and they said to click on view and advanced features. Okay. If everything up to this point worked correctly, your MMC should now be pointed to and authenticated against the target domain. We can now start enumerating information about the AD structure. Here, users and computers, let's take a look at the Active Directory structure. For this task, we'll focus on AD users and computers, expand that snap in, and expand the ZA domain to see the initial organizational unit OU structure. So let's go ahead and do that. Like so. Yep, we can see everything in there. Let's take a look at the people directory. Here we see that the users are divided according to department OUs. Clicking on each of these OUs will show the users that belong to that department. So let's just follow along here. There we go. Clicking on any of these users will allow us to view all the properties and attributes. We can also see what groups they're a member of, right? So if you go in and pull up this information, you can see stuff in there like this, member of. We can also use MMC to find hosts in the environment. If we click on either servers or workstations, the list of domain joined machines will be displayed. All right, so let's go ahead and try that here. Let me go ahead and minimize that. So if we go ahead and take a look at servers here, so they got Unix boxes, apparently there's nothing in there. But if we just click on the main servers, we got two in there. If we had the relevant permissions, we could also use MMC to directly make changes to AD, such as changing the user's password or adding an account to a specific group. Play around with MMC to better understand AD domain structure. Make use of the search feature to look for objects, benefits. The GUI provides an excellent method to gain a holistic view of the AD environment. Rapid searching of different AD objects can be performed. It provides a direct method to view specific updates of AD objects. If we want, or if we have sufficient privileges, we can directly update existing AD objects or add new ones. Drawbacks: the GUI requires RDP access to the machine where it is executed. Although searching for an object is fast, gathering AD-wide properties or attributes cannot be performed. How many computer objects are part of the server's OU? And we have two in there, so hit 2. How many computer objects are part of the workstation's OU? So let's go ahead and check that out. And it shows 1 in there, so there we go. How many departments, organization units does this organization consist of? Well, let's go ahead and take a look here, and it looks like it's going to be 7. How many admin tiers does the organization have? So let's go ahead and take a look here. I assume it's going to be under admins. They got 3 tiers. What is the value of the flag stored in the description attribute of the T0 underscore Tinus dot green account? And assume it's going to be in here. Yep. So there it is. All right. I wonder if I could just copy and paste this out of here. Awesome. Now let's continue to the next task. Task 4, enumeration through command prompt. And let's see what they have for us here. Command prompt. There are times when you just need to perform a quick and dirty AD lookup. and command prompt has your back. Good old reliable CMD is handy when you perhaps don't have RDP access to a system to finish our monitoring PowerShell use and you need to perform your AD enumeration through a remote access Trojan rat. It can be even, or it can be helpful to embed a couple of simple AD enumeration commands in your phishing payload to help you gain the vital information that can help you stage the final attack. CMD has built-in command that we can use to enumerate information about AD, namely net. The net command is a handy tool to enumerate information about the local system in AD. We will look at a couple of interesting things. We can enumerate from this position, but this is not an exhaustive list. Note, for this task, you will have to use the jump box and won't be able to use your own Windows VM. This will be explained in the drawbacks. Users. We can use net command to list all users in AD domain by using the user sub option. So let me go ahead and just minimize this because we have to get back in RDP for some reason. And let me go back over to my session. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen and let's follow along here. So use net, user, domain. There we go, pulls back everything. And let's see, this will return all users for us and can be helpful in determining the size or the domain. To stage further attacks, we can also use this sub option to enumerate more detailed information about a single user count. Correct. So let's go ahead and clear the screen, and I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste this over. There we go. You can see it pulls up all kinds of information about that user account. Note, if the user is only part of a small number of AD groups, this command will be able to show us group memberships. However, usually after more than 10 group memberships, the command will fail to listen or list them all groups. We can use the net command to enumerate the groups of the domain by using the group sub option. So clear the screen again, and let's do net group domain. All right. Says this information can help us find specific groups to target for goal execution. We could also enumerate more details such as membership to a group policy by specifying the group in the same command. Go ahead and clear the screen here and copy and paste this over. Okay, there we go. Shows everybody in that group. Password policy. We can use net command to enumerate password policy of the domain using the accounts sub option. All right, this is some good info here, guys. So be sure you're paying attention and taking some notes. There we go. There's the password policy information. This will provide us with helpful information such as length of password, history kept, meaning how many passwords must the user provide before they can use an old password, the lockout threshold for incorrect password attempts, and for how long the account will be locked, the minimum length of the password, the maximum age that passwords are allowed to reach, indicating if passwords have to be rotated at a regular interval. This information can benefit us if we want to stage additional password sparing attacks against the other accounts or other user accounts that we have now enumerated. It can help us better guess what single passwords we should use in the attack and how many attacks can we run before we risk locking accounts. However, it should be noted that if we perform a blind password string attack, we may lock out accounts anyway, since we did not check to determine how many attempts that specific account had before being locked. You can find the full range of options associated with the net command here, so check that out if you're interested. Play around with these net commands to gather information about specific users and groups. Benefit. No additional or external tooling is required, and these simple commands are often not monitored for by the blue team. We do not need to use a GUI to do this enumeration. VB and other macro languages that are often used for phishing payloads support these commands natively, so they can be used to enumerate initial information regarding AD domain before more specific payloads are crafted. Drawbacks. The net commands must be executed from a domain joined machine. If the machine is not domain joined, it will default to the work group domain. The net command may not show all information. For example, if a user is a member of more than 10 groups, not all of these groups will be shown in the output. Apart from the domain users group, what other group is the A Harris account a member of? And let's go ahead and find that out. All right, so to do that, I'm just gonna up arrow this. There we go. So let's go ahead and type the name in here. Aaron.Harris. Okay. And it says group memberships right here. Internet access is going to be the answer for that one. So let's go ahead and type that in. Is the guest account active? And we can do the same thing here. Oops, clear screen. And let's go ahead and try the guest. See what information will come back. If I can spell guest correctly. Okay. Account expired active? No. So there you go. How many accounts are a member of the Tier 1 admins group? I think we already took a look at that earlier, right? So I'm going to up arrow and find that easily here. Tier 1 admins group, yeah. And let's see here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So there's the answer to that. What is the account lockout duration of the current password policy in minutes? So go ahead and clear the screen and then up arrow again to find that information. All right, I may have went too far. Oops. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to scroll back up and copy and paste this over. It wasn't net accounts. Okay. All right, so we can use the, I believe it was, yeah, the net accounts, and we can see that. So lockout duration in minutes is going to be 30. There we go. Task number 5, enumerating through PowerShell. PowerShell is the upgrade of command prompt. Microsoft first released it in 2006. While PowerShell has all the standard functionality command prompt provides, it also provides access to commandlets, pronounced commandlets, which are .NET classes to perform specific functions. While we can write our own commandlets, like the creators of PowerView did, we can already get very far using the built-in ones. Since we installed the AD RSAT tooling in Task 3, it automatically installed the associated commandlets for us. There are 50 plus commandlets installed. We will be looking at some of these, but refer to this list for the complete list of commandlets, so check that out. Using our SSH terminal, we can upgrade it to PowerShell by typing in this command, PowerShell. So let's go ahead and do that. Type in PowerShell, like so. Move this over a little bit. Users, we can use the get AD user to enumerate AD users. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste. There we go. See, it pulls down all kinds of information. And let's go ahead and continue. These parameters are used for the following: identity, the account name that we are enumerating, properties, which properties associated with the account will be shown. The star will show all properties. Server, since we are not domain joined, we have to use this parameter to point it to our domain controller. For most of these commandlets, we can also use the filter parameter that allows more control over enumeration, and the use of the format table commandlet to display the results, such as the following neatly. So let's go ahead and try this here. All right. And for some reason, it wouldn't allow me to scroll up, but let's go ahead and clear all this out again and paste it in. There we go. Now it's nice and neat and readable. Groups. We can use the get AD group commandlet to enumerate AD groups. So go ahead and type that out. There we go. We can also enumerate group memberships using get AD group member commandlet. Once again, copy and paste. And let's go ahead and clear this out. There we go. Awesome. And AD objects. A more generic search for any AD object can be performed using the get AD object command. For example, if we are looking at all AD objects that were changed after a specific date, we could do that here. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's go ahead and create this variable. All right, now let's go ahead and copy and paste this over. There we go. If we wanted to, for example, perform a password sparing attack without locking out accounts, we can use this to enumerate accounts that have a bad uh, PWD count that is greater than 0 to avoid these accounts in our attack. And we can do that using this here. So go ahead and copy and paste this over. All right, there we go. This will only show results if one of the users in the network mistyped their password a couple of times. Domains. We can use the getAD domain to retrieve additional information about the specific domain. So let's go ahead and do that here. Okay. There we go. Altering AD objects. The great thing about AD RSAT commandlets is that some even allow you to create new or alter existing AD objects. However, our focus for this network is on enumeration. Creating new objects or altering existing ones would be considered AD exploitation, which is covered later in the AD module. However, we will show an example of this by force changing the password of our AD user by using the set AD account password commandlet. And we can do that using this here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste over. Okay, go ahead and clear this out. It says remember to change the identity value and password for the account you provide it with for enumeration on the distributor web page in task 1. All right, so I'm going to paste this in. We got to place these placeholders in here. So I'm going to show this again. That's how it looks. No, so the old password that was set was password123, and I changed it to password1. All right, now let's go and continue on. Benefits. The PowerShell commandlets can enumerate significantly more information than the net commands. From command prompt, we can specify the server and domain to execute these commands using run as from a non-domain join machine. We can create our own commandlets to enumerate specific information. We can use the AD RSAT commandlets to directly change AD objects, such as resetting passwords or adding a user to a specific group. Drawbacks. PowerShell is often monitored more by the blue teams than command prompts. We have to install AD RSAT tooling or use other potentially detectable scripts for PowerShell enumeration. What is the value of the title attribute of Beth Nolan? First question. What is the value of the title attribute of Beth Nolan, Beth.Nolan? It's going to be senior. All right, so we can use this here to find that information. All right, then you just basically scroll down to where it says title. There we go. Title, senior. Next one says, what is the value of the distinguished name attribute of Annette Manning? All right, and to get that, get AD user identity, Annette.Manning, etc. And then you can scroll down to distinguished name on the left side there, right there. Okay, next one says, when was the tier 2 admins group created? All right, now to find that, let me scroll down a little bit. You can do something like this here. Get AD group identity, the name of it here in quotations. And then you just go down and find the SID on the left side, right there. And, oops, sorry, got too far ahead of myself. You're going to go down and find the when created attribute and then plug in that information. Next one, you're going to find the SID of the enterprise admins group. You can do that using this down here. All right, it's probably a better way to do it, but that's the way I did it. And scroll down to the SID area. There you go. Grab it right there. And it says which container is used to store deleted AD objects. And to do that, you can do, you can see that I lost connection there, which is why I'm going through and just doing it this way. Plus, this just saves time. So watch me type all this stuff here. So if I scroll up a little bit, right there, you can use get AD domain, and then you go down to deleted object container right there, and you just grab that information. All right, so that completes that task. Next task is going to be task number 6, enumeration through Bloodhound. Let's get into some Bloodhound gang, baby. Lastly, we will look at performing AD enumeration using Bloodhound. Bloodhound is the most powerful AD enumeration tool to date, and when it was released in 2016, it changed the AD enumeration landscape forever. Bloodhound history. For a significant amount of time, red teamers and unfortunately attackers had the upper hand, so much so that Microsoft integrated their own version of Bloodhound in its advanced threat protection solution. It all came down to the following phrase: defenders think in list, attackers think in graphs unknown. Bloodhound allowed attackers, and by now defenders too, to visualize the AD environment in a graph format with interconnected nodes. Each connection is a possible path that could be exploited to reach a goal. In contrast, the defenders used lists like a list of domain admins or a list of all the hosts in the environment. The graph-based thinking opened up a world to attackers. It allowed for a two-stage attack. In the first stage, the attackers would perform phishing attacks to gain an initial entry to enumerate AD information. This initial payload was usually incredibly noisy and would be detected and contained by the blue team before the attackers could perform any actions apart from exfiltrating the enumerated data. However, attackers could now use this data offline to create an attack path in graph format, showing precisely the steps and hops required. Using this information during the second phishing campaign, the attackers could often reach their goal in minutes once a breach was achieved. Is often even faster than it would take the blue team to receive their first alert. This is the power of thinking in graphs, which is why so many blue teams have also started to use these types of tools to understand their security posture better. Sharp Hound. You will often hear users refer to Sharp Hound and Bloodhound interchangeably. However, they are not the same. Sharp Hound is the enumeration tool of Bloodhound. It is used to enumerate the AD information that can be visually displayed in Bloodhound. Bloodhound is the actual GUI based used to display the AD attack graphs. Therefore, we first need to learn how to use SharpHound to enumerate AD before we can take a look at the results visually using Bloodhound. All right, so SharpHound collects the information and then puts it into some type of file, like usually a zip file. Then you put that information or files, you upload those files into Bloodhound to put it in those graphs in pretty colors for you. There are 3 different SharpHound collectors. SharpHound.ps1, PowerShell script for running SharpHound. However, the latest version or latest release of SharpHound has stopped releasing the PowerShell script version. This version is good to use with rats since the script can be loaded directly into memory, evading on-disk AV scans. SharpHound.exe, a Windows executable version of running SharpHound. Azure Hound .ps1, PowerShell script for running SharpHound for Azure, Microsoft Cloud Computing Services instances. Bloodhound can ingest data enumerated from Azure to find attack paths related to the configuration of Azure Identity and Access Management. Note, your Bloodhound and SharpHound versions must match for the best results. Usually there are updates made to Bloodhound, which means old SharpHound results cannot be ingested. This network was created using Bloodhound version 4.1.0. Please make sure to use this version with the SharpHound results. When using these collector scripts on an assessment, there's a high likelihood that these files will be detected as malware and raise an alert to the blue team. This is again where our Windows machine that is non-domain join can assist. We can use the run as command to inject the AD credentials and point SharpHound to a domain controller. Since we control this Windows machine, we can either disable the AV or create exceptions for specific files or folders, which has already been performed for you on the jump machine. You can find the SharpHound binaries located here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. We'll probably have to navigate to it eventually. In this directory, we will use SharpHound.exe version for our enumeration, but feel free to play around with the other two. We will execute SharpHound as follows. So let's go ahead and just navigate to that directory. Okay, you can do ls or dir, and there you go, sharphound.exe. Uh, let's see here. So I'm gonna get this ready to go as well. I'll probably have to use this eventually, like so. Okay. Parameters explain. Collection methods determines what kind of data Sharphound would collect. The most common options are default or all. Also, since Sharphound caches information once the first run has been completed, you can only use the session collection method to retrieve new user sessions to speed up the process. Domain. Here we specify the domain we want to enumerate. In some instances, you may want to enumerate a parent or other domain that has trust with your existing domain. You can tell Sharphound which domain should be enumerated by altering this parameter. Exclude DCs. This will instruct Sharphound not to touch domain controllers, which reduces the likelihood that the Sharphound run will raise an alert. You can find all versions of Sharphound parameters here. It is good to overview the other parameters since they may require depending on your red team assessment circumstances. Using your SSH PowerShell session from the previous task, copy in the Sharphound binary to your AD users documents directory. Doing this here, so let's just do that. Follow along with the instructions. All right, and then we're going to cd into that directory. All right, and now we will run Sharphound using all end sessions collection methods. So let's go ahead and do that. Copy and paste, and just clear all this stuff out just to show you that it's in here. There you go. So let's go ahead and run this bad boy and see what will come back. All right, now let's see here. All right, let's try this again. Now we need to put that initial dot backslash in there. There we go. Okay, now let's see what comes back. So it will take about 1 minute for Sharphound to confirm the enumeration. In large organizations, this can take quite a bit longer, even hours to execute for the first time. Once complete, you will have a timestamped zip file to the same folder you executed Sharphound from. So as soon as this finishes, we can take a look and see this zip file should be there. We can now use Bloodhound to ingest the zip to show us attack paths visually. Bloodhound. As mentioned before, Bloodhound is the GUI that allows us to import data captured by Sharphound and visualize it into attack paths. Bloodhound uses Neo4j as its backend database and graphic system. Neo4j is a graph database management system. If you're interested, or sorry, if you're using the attack box, you may use the red Bloodhound icon in the dock to launch it. In all other cases, make sure Bloodhound and Neo4j are installed and configured on your attacking machine. Either way, it is good to understand what happens in the background. Before we can start Bloodhound, we need to load Neo4j. So let's go ahead and do that while this is running. Oh, it looks like it finished. But let's go ahead and do that here. I'm pretty sure I already have it installed. So let's see. Oh, I do not have it installed. All right, well, let's go ahead and install everything here. I've installed Neo4j as well as Bloodhound. Now I had an issue with Neo4j. For some reason, the default creds weren't working for me. But anyway, I went into the config file and I took off authentication and got to it that way. Now, I did that just for demonstration purposes, obviously. But anyway, now we're inside the GUI of Bloodhound here, and I've already copied the file from Sharphound over to my Kali box here, and as you can see, I've uploaded everything. Now we're going to talk about attack paths. There are several attack paths that Bloodhound can show. Pressing the three stripes next to the search for a node will show the options. I just call it the hamburger icon or hamburger menu. The very first tab shows us information regarding our current imports. Note that if you import a new run of Sharphound, it would increase these counts. First, we will look at node info. Let's search for our AD account in Bloodhound. So node info, and assume they mean this here, and my account was like Catherine or something. There we go. Catherine Dickinson. Okay, there we go. And let's continue on here. You must click on the node to refresh the view. Also note that you change the label scheme by left control. All right. We can see there are significant amounts of information here. So if we click on it here, you can see what they're talking about here. Overview provides summaries information such as the number of active sessions the account has and if it can reach high value targets. Node properties shows information regarding the AD account such as the display name and the title. Extra properties provides more detailed AD information such as the distinguished name and when the account was created. Group membership shows information regarding the groups that the account is a member of. Local admin rights provides information on domain join host where the account has administrative privileges. Execution rights provides information on special privileges such as the ability to RDP into a machine. Outbound control rights shows information regarding AD objects where this account has permissions to modify their attributes. Inbound control rights provides information regarding AD objects that can modify the attributes for this account. If you want more information in each of these categories, you can press the number next to the information query. For instance, let's look at the group membership associated with our accounts by pressing the number next to first degree group membership. We can see that our account is a member of two groups. So let's go ahead and try that. And it says first degree group membership. So there it is. There we go. And see if I can zoom out a little bit. All right. Member of domain users and also internet access. Okay, next we'll look at the analysis queries. These are queries that the creators of Bloodhound have written themselves to enumerate helpful information. So go ahead and click on analysis. And this is under domain information section. We can run the find all domain admins query. Note that you can press left control to change the label display settings. So there we go. We found the domain admins here. There we go. We got two of them, administrator and then this T0 tinus.green. The icons are called nodes and the lines are called edges. Let's take a deeper dive into what Bloodhound is showing us. There is an AD account with the username T0 underscore Tinus dot green. That is a member of the group tier 0 admins, but the group is a nested group into the domain admins group, meaning all users that are part of the T0 admins group are effectively DAs. Furthermore, there is an additional AD account, the username administrator, as a part of the domain admins group. Hence, there are two accounts in our attack surface that we can probably attempt to compromise if we want to gain DA rights. Since the administrator account is a built-in account, we would likely focus on the user count instead. Each AD object that was discussed in the previous task can be a node in Bloodhound, and each will have a different icon depicting the type of object it is. If we want to formulate an attack path, we need to look at the available edges between the current position and privileges we have and where we want to go. Bloodhound has various available edges that can be accessed by the filter icon. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue on. These are also constantly being updated. As new attack vectors are discovered, we will be looking at exploiting these different edges in a future network. However, let's look at the most basic attack path using only the default and some special edges. We can run a search of Bloodhound to enumerate the attack path. Press the path icon to allow for path searching. All right, I switched over to the attack box from TryHackMe because I was running into some issues. Now, I am going to show you where the edge filtering is. It's this icon here. All right, click it. See the filters options. All right, now let's go ahead and continue on. It says these are also constantly being updated as new attack vectors are discovered. We'll be looking at exploiting these different edges in a future network. However, let's take a look at the most basic attack path using only the default and some special edges. We will run a search in Bloodhound to enumerate attack path. Press the path icon, which is this here, path finding, and then we're going to search for tier 1 admins. So we go ahead and type that in, tier 1 admins. There we go. Now we have some more information there. All right. So let's see. Our start node would be our AD username. Okay. We already did that. If there's no available attack path using the selected edge filters, Bloodhound will display no results found. Note this may be due to Bloodhound/SharpHound mismatch, meaning the results were not properly ingested. Please make sure or make use of Bloodhound version 4.1.0. However, in our case, Bloodhound shows an attack path. It shows that one of the T1 account broke the tiering model by using their credentials to authenticate to the jump box, which is a workstation. It allows, or sorry, it also shows that any user that is part of the domain users group, including our AD account, has the ability to RDP into this host. So you can see that here. Okay. And if you just take a look around in here, like so. Okay. Let me move some of this out of the way. So there we are. All right, so that's my account here. It's part of the domain users group. There's a jump box, okay? And then it goes into this tier 1 Henry.Miller and then to tier 1 admins, okay? We could do something like the following to exploit this path. 1, use our AD credentials to RDP to the jump box. 2, look for a privilege escalation vector on that host that would provide us with administrative access. 3, using administrative access, we can use credential harvesting techniques and tools such as Mimikatz. 4, since the T1 admin has an active session on Jumpbox, our credential harvesting would provide us with the NTLM hash of the associated account. This is a straightforward example. The attack paths may be relatively complex in normal circumstances and require several actions to reach the final goal. If you are interested in the exploits associated with each edge, the following Bloodhound documentation provides an excellent guide. Bloodhound is an incredible, powerful AD enumeration tool that provides in-depth insights into the AD structure of an attack surface. It is worth the effort to play around with it and learn its various features. Session data only. The structure of AD does not change very often. In large organizations, there may be a couple of new employees, but the overall structure of OUs, groups, users, and permissions will remain the same. However, the one thing that does not change constantly is active sessions and logon events. Since Sharpound creates a point-in-time snapshot of the AD structure, active sessions data is not always accurate. Since some users may have already logged off their sessions, or new users may have established new sessions, this is an essential thing to note and is why we would want to execute Sharpound at regular intervals. A good approach is to execute Sharpound with the all collection method at the start of your assessment, and then execute Sharpound at least twice a day using the session collection method. This will provide you with new session data and ensure that these runs are faster since they do not enumerate the entire AD structure again. The best time to execute these sessions runs is at around 10 o'clock when users have their first coffee and start to work, and again around 1400 when they get back from lunch. You can clear stagnant sessions in Bloodhound on the database info, all right, by clicking clear session information before importing the new data that the Sharpound runs. So if you go in here and all right, it's in here somewhere. Maybe you can't see it on the screen because it's too small or something like that. I'm not sure. But let's continue. Benefits. Provides a GUI for AD enumeration, has the ability to show attack paths for enumerated AD information, provides more profound insights to AD objects that usually require several manual queries to recover. Drawbacks. Requires the execution of Sharpound, which is noisy and can often be detected by AV or EDR solutions. What command can be used to execute sharpound.exe and request that it recovers session information only from the za.tryhackme.com domain without touching domain controllers? All right, I've already done this, so this is what it's going to look like here. Let me just go ahead and minimize this. And we don't need this anymore. Let's go over here, and this is what it looks like. All right. So we got sharpound.exe -- collection methods, and then it's going to be session -- domain, then a domain name, and then exclude DCs. Apart from the KRBGT account, how many other accounts are potentially curb roastable? So we need to go back into Bloodhound and take a look here, probably an analysis. And let's see here, find curb roastable members. So let's list all curb roaster accounts. So let me zoom out of this here. Oops. We can see, let's see if I can, okay, there we go. All right, so if I zoom out a little bit here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got four other accounts besides the KR BETGT account. How many machines do members of the Tier 1 admins group have administrative access to? This is going to be 2 for this questionnaire. All right, first degree local admins. Now you got to go to node info, and then once you do that, you click on that particular group here, and it should take you to the node info, and then you can see it in there. So we need to get this last one here. How many users are members of the Tier 2 admins group? And we have to change this around. Let's just do administrator. Okay, Tier 2 admins right there. Click it, node info, and it says direct members 15. So that should be the answer for that. There we go. Now it's time to wrap it up with this conclusion. It says enumerating AD is a massive task. Proper AD enumeration is required to better understand the structure of the domain and determine attack paths that can be leveraged to perform privilege escalation or lateral movement. Additional enumeration techniques. In this network, we covered several techniques that can be used to enumerate AD. This is by no means an exhaustive list. Here is a list of enumeration techniques that also deserve mention. You got LDAP enumeration, you got PowerView, and Windows Management Instrumentation, WMI. We should also note that this room focused on enumerating the structure of the AD domain in its entirety. Instead of concentrating only on identifying misconfigurations and weaknesses, enumeration focused on identifying weaknesses such as insecure shares or breaks in the tiering model. Will be discussed in the future rooms, mitigations. AD enumeration is incredibly hard to defend against. Many of these techniques mimic regular network traffic and behavior, making it difficult to distinguish malicious traffic from normal traffic. However, there are a couple of things we can do to detect potentially malicious behavior. It says powerful AD enumeration techniques such as sharp generate a significant amount of logon events when enumerating session information. Since it executes from a single AD account, these logon events will be associated with the single account. We can write detection rules to detect this type of behavior if it occurs from a single user account. We can write signature detection rules for the tools that must be installed for specific AD enumeration techniques such as sharp binaries and the AD RSET tooling. Unless used by employees of an organization, we can monitor the use of command prompt and PowerShell in our organization to detect potential enumeration attempts from unauthorized sources. On a side note, the blue team themselves can also regularly use these enumeration techniques to identify gaps and misconfigurations in the structure of AD domain. If we can resolve these misconfigurations, even if an attacker enumerates our AD, they won't be able to find misconfigurations that can be exploited for privilege escalation or lateral movement. Now that we have enumerated AD, the next step is to perform privilege escalation and lateral movement across the domain to get into a suitable position to stage attacks. This will be covered in the next room. I understand AD enumeration, how we can possibly detect malicious AD enumeration. Done. All right, that wraps up the video, folks. If you found this video valuable, if you got any type of information from the video, be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Share the video. Comment below your thoughts and opinions on the information shared. As always, thank you all for taking the time to watch. Have a nice day, and I will see you later.